What can we do to protect our planet and its finite resources? We'll be hearing from some inspiring people and their solutions. Hello and welcome to a new edition of EcoAfrica. I am Sandra Kahomza Twinobio, coming to you from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
And I'm Chris Alems, joining you from Lagos. Indeed, Sandra, our future depends on us consuming less, reducing our carbon footprint and protecting what we still have. We've got some great stories coming from Africa and Europe. Here is a pic of what is coming up. We find out how VR technology is helping farmers in Cameroon. See how solar tanks installed on roofs in Egypt provide affordable hot water. And learn about a fascinating method of removing microplastics from water. When it comes to problem solving, being prepared and knowing what you might face before it happens can help. Cotton farms in Cameroon, like so many farms across the world, are suffering the effect of climate change. But some farmers there are now trained to deal with the crisis innovatively.
It's not your average teaching aid. Virtual reality technology takes a bit of getting used to. But with the help of these headsets, Cameroonian cotton farmers are learning how to adopt more sustainable practices, boosting their harvests and their incomes.
This type of training plunges farmers into a world where they can practice their methods, and practicing helps them understand the challenges better and adapt accordingly.
Halawaji Halahoki learned how to farm cotton from his parents, but now he's willing to try out new approaches and gain new skills. The high-tech headset transports him to a cotton field for an immersive learning experience. He can see the crops close up from his desk, along with any infestations and dangerous pests. The training also shows him that some creatures are beneficial, such as spiders that feed on the caterpillars that can destroy his cotton crop.
It's like we're right there in the video. We can see exactly what's happening. It's been a great help to us. It's been a great help to me.
Marawa in northern Cameroon is the centre of the country's cotton industry. It's the main cash crop grown in the region, and 1/3 of arable land here is used for cotton production. Many families depend on it for their livelihoods. Including Halawaji Halahoki's. While his 4 children are at school, his wife and 2 of his neighbours are going to help him with the harvest. Halahoki is planning to put what he learned on the course about pest control and sustainability into practice next year, when it's time to sow seeds again.
I won't use toxic chemicals because they cause a lot of problems. These products kill all insects, but in fact some are useful. They can kill our animals, and they're bad for the air that we breathe. I won't use toxic fertilizers either. I'll use organic fertilizer instead.
The farmer learned how to make organic pesticide spray on the virtual reality course by mixing neem seed powder with water, olive oil, and a little washing up liquid. It's not only better for the environment than chemical pesticides, it's also a lot cheaper. The VR training sessions are organised by the International Cotton Advisory Committee and financed by the German development agency, the GIZ. Immersive learning in a virtual environment that replicates real-world situations is also cost-efficient. It reduces the sort of expenses associated with standard training methods, such as travel and fuel. Northern Cameroon only sees 1/3 of the rainfall of the rest of the country, and climate change is exacerbating the irregular rains and drought.
When it doesn't rain, nothing grows. That's a problem. Even if the crops start to grow, without rain, they won't blossom properly. That's another one of our challenges.
The farmers learn how to best harvest the cotton to preserve its quality and avoid dust contamination. Halahoki has also started using cloth sacks rather than plastic, not least because that means less waste. Cameroon's state cotton company, Soda Coton, buys the farmers' yields, so it naturally has an interest in guaranteeing high-quality harvests long into the future. Its management pre-selected the farmers who took part in the virtual reality course.
You can have all the right equipment, but without the proper training, you won't produce good cotton. They've got good seeds, they have fertilizer, they have treatment products. This training helps them to improve their techniques and get better cotton.
250 farmers have already taken part in the virtual reality course, and 90 instructors have been trained up to pass on the new skills. As climate change confronts farmers with new challenges, Halawaji Halahoki and his family are keen to keep up with the times.
You've probably heard a lot about microplastics recently. Now, these tiny particles are everywhere in the air and water. They are especially dangerous for marine animals because particles can accumulate inside them. And because they are so tiny that we can't see them, removing them from water is a big challenge.
That is right, Chris, but it is so important that we do. The consumption of contaminated seafood has also been linked to all sorts of health problems in humans. Our next report is about 1 man's idea to tackle the problem, and you might be surprised about where his inspiration came from.
Our plastic waste has polluted almost all bodies of water on the planet. It degrades into microplastics, which are harmful to all living things. One cleanup method devised by a team in Germany uses tiny air bubbles. Its inventor believes it could help us rid the planet of waterborne microplastics. Engineer Roland Daman is developing the process with a team of experts from the field of environmental technology. It's based on a relatively simple idea.
Cleaning wastewater with microbubbles isn't new. I once learned at a lecture in London that microplastics are hydrophobic. They don't like water and will adhere to air bubbles in the water. Years later, as the idea matured, I was watching my vacuum cleaner robot move throughout my study when I thought of a way to create an adherence technology for the water that would autonomously float freely in the water while cleaning it.
The technology generates high concentrations of microscopically small air bubbles, thinner than a hair, so that as many plastic particles as possible adhere to them. After promising experiments in the lab, the first prototype that worked in an open body of water was called Duck 1. It was the first success for Daman's team. This is how the technology works underwater. Some 2 meters below the surface, up to 2 million bubbles are released per litre. While water actually repels plastic, which is oil-based, it's different with air, which tends to attract microplastic particles. They adhere to the bubbles, and then they're pulled up to the surface, where they can be collected.
The adherence technology can be used wherever microplastic hotspots arise or are found. We've already been able to remove 98% of microplastic components from water in the Weser River in preliminary model tests without leaving any residue. And we did it without chemicals, just with pure microbubble technology, just with air.
The technology has already been built on a larger scale on land. Despite its usefulness, the method is energy intensive and has some unwanted side effects. The bubbles can also disrupt tiny organisms such as plankton and carry them off to the surface, thus removing them from the aquatic food chain. That's why the innovation is best suited for use where a lot of microplastic accumulates. such as in heavily polluted rivers, before the plastic reaches the oceans and spreads from there.
Big pieces of plastic waste are a huge problem too, of course, like plastic bags. Finding alternatives to plastic and reusing material wherever possible is very crucial to protecting the environment. And there's some very creative ways out there to do that, as you'll see now in this week's Doing a Bit.
Colourful and durable, these lengths of fabric are destined to become reusable, sturdy shopping bags. The production plant belongs to a company that also makes paper bags and can turn out some 76,000 of these per day. Co-founder Bernard Kitambala wants his products to replace Goma's ubiquitous plastic bags. An estimated 5 tons of plastic waste is strewn about the city's streets and often clogs up its sewers.
We're fed up seeing our city in this state. The country is severely polluted with plastic, and we want to make at least a modest contribution to improving the environment. As a company, we produce biodegradable products, non-woven fabric, and craft paper packaging.
The bags are biodegradable, and the company now sells them to a range of small stores and supermarkets, which pay the equivalent of 17 euro cents a bag.
Plastic packaging doesn't ever degrade and is an environmental pollutant. On the radio, they've informed us that we should only use biodegradable packaging in order to protect the environment.
Bernard Kitambala hopes that his biodegradable bags will inspire others to find alternatives to plastics. His employees enjoy a better standard of living thanks to their work in the factory, including Mireille Badera.
This job has helped me a lot. I used to rent my home, but thanks to my work, I've been able to buy a plot of land. I'm a mother of 6, and it also helps me feed my children. And they have a good home where they can study. This job has helped me a lot.
Wow, that is great. It is these aspects of our everyday lives that we really need to rethink, like the fuel we use for heating. If we are fortunate enough indeed to have hot water, many of us love a nice hot shower or bath, but that always comes at a cost.
That's right. Firstly, for the environment, because many water heaters use fossil fuels, and financially, especially now, as many of us are struggling with rising bills. We head to Egypt to find out how they are employing the power of the sun.
Mohammed Zaki Makhloufi is looking forward to the solar water heater tank that's being installed on his roof. His family will now have a direct source of hot water.
I didn't think twice when the company approached me. I told them yes, they could come and install the heater. I think it will benefit me and others too.
Until now, his family has used butane whenever they need to heat water on the kitchen stove, which is often.
In the winter, I heat up water 3 or 4 times a day. My mother-in-law has feet issues, so whenever she washes before prayers, she needs hot water. So she needs hot water 5 times a day. I also heat up water to bathe my children every other day.
But the gas stoves are bad for indoor air quality, and the gas cylinders aren't even cheap, as the retiree knows.
In the winter, each family needs around 1 or 1.5 gas cylinders. In summer, we consume around 4 tanks a month. This can cost somewhere between 10 and 15 euros.
So the new heater will save Mohammed Makhlouf a fair amount of money. It's being installed for free, as the heaters are sponsored by Shamsina, a startup that manufactures affordable solar technologies. Its founder, Sara Musa, wants to help low-income families. And she also recognizes that if they stop using butane, there will be a significant reduction in CO2 emissions.
We cut emissions by 5 kilograms every month. And this sounds really small on one household, but if we multiply that figure month after month and across millions of households, then we have a tangible dent on the CO2 emissions.
But experts say that because Egypt's cities are so densely populated, it won't be possible to install many of these solar water heaters on rooftops.
Solar water heaters will not be able to attain a significant market share in Egypt. They can make up no more than 30% of the market. Therefore, they can't save a lot of energy or greatly reduce CO2 emissions.
However, the heaters are a viable solution in rural areas, he says. Shamsina finances the subsidized solar water heaters through donations and through sales of its heaters to businesses and hotels.
We use proceeds from these consumers in order to fund solar water heaters for our lower income households.
Egyptians are being hard hit by high gas prices. For Mohammed Zaki Makhlouf's family and many others, Shamsina's environmentally friendly solar solution comes at exactly the right time.
So much of the world is suffering the effect of rising fuel cost. Another place that's harnessing the power of its abundant sunshine is Nigeria. Mini-grids are now providing cheap and clean solar power to some rural communities.
The sparks are still flying as ever, but the electricity of Jesse Enes welding machine is now generally clean. This is good for the environment, but for the welder, the benefits for his family are invaluable.
I've started using solar-powered electricity because of how expensive gas is. If I had kept on using gas, I wouldn't be able to support my family anymore. That's why I started using solar-powered electricity, to get some benefits from it.
The whole village is now benefiting from it. Sabongida in southern Nigeria was connected to a solar power mini-grid a year ago. Half of the households and most of the businesses are now supplied with clean, cheap electricity, practically around the clock. In the local hospital, Dr. Abel Elisha and nurse Andat Natal can provide much better care for their patients now that they have electric light. Previously, they had to work by flashlight during the hours of darkness.
When the woman comes to give birth here, it's very difficult for us because we don't get light. We are using torch light. So even giving the injection without a light, you will see it difficult to us. So with that light, we are enjoying it.
Now that we have the light now, what I'm planning is that I want to save money so that I will get a fridge that I will be storing my vaccines and other drugs that need a certain temperature.
More and more mini-grids are being installed in Nigeria, in part thanks to the falling costs for solar technology. The system in Sabongida, manufactured by a US company, was co-financed by the World Bank and the African Development Bank. There are now 6 systems here in the country's north-central state of Nasarawa. Abel Gaya from the Clean Technology Hub thinks small solar power plants are one of the best ways to supply rural Africa with electricity without fossil fuels.
So there are 600 million Africans without access to electricity, and Nigeria is the largest, has the highest rates of this unelectrified population across Africa. Nigeria is also the largest potential market for mini-grids, and so mini-grids are a key solution in electrifying at least 30% of the unelectrified population.
This has also been great for John Buhari's business. He provides a cell phone charging service, and thanks to the cheap electricity, he now makes more profit because he no longer has to pay for fuel for the generator.
You can see even the charging, we didn't put increased price in our amount of the price we are charging people. It's 15 naira, and it's because of the solar we have.
As the example of Sabongida shows, people are prepared to switch to environmentally friendly electricity, especially when it's a financially viable option.
Sometimes the key to success is getting the message out to the right people. Joseph Beanga is a radio manager right here in Kampala, but he is best known for his commitment to improving street safety, especially for the children. He uses his voice to promote environmental protection and does so with body and soul.
Africa's cities are getting more and more crowded. By 2050, the number of city dwellers is set to almost triple to 1.3 billion, and the city traffic chaos is growing along with them. In Uganda's capital, Kampala, one man, Joseph Beanga, is tired of it. The traffic in his city has cost many lives. Last year alone, some 1,600 pedestrians died in traffic accidents. In addition, many have died or gotten sick from the polluted air.
We have very many vehicles on the road, most of them not in a good condition. They are putting out fumes which are not good for even the people who are walking. We are living in a city whereby we are killing people every day. We need to rethink, implement, design a city that is safe for all.
The World Health Organization warns that Kampala's air quality is not within safe limits. So this morning, Joe Walker, as he is known on social media, is joining authorities in Kampala to promote non-motorized transport as a way of reducing emissions. The city planners are piloting temporary car-free zones.
So we felt it wise that if we can promote the non-motorized corridors, transport systems, and then we start encouraging it into our people, telling them how the benefits of those non-motorized kind of transportation will become good.
More than half of Kampala's population walks and cycles. This inspired authorities to adopt a framework of non-motorized transport in 2012. But it was not until 9 years later that a pilot car-free zone was commissioned in Kampala. It stretches for close to 2 kilometers. Beanga says it's not enough for the city's population of more than 3 million.
One of the things I'd love to see in Kampala is right from the entrance of the CBD, just the busiest zone, car-free zone. It should be car-free. If you are going to come into the city, the most you can do is cycle, just like our friends who are just cycling past us. Just cycle into the city. That is very safe for everybody. That is safe for people who are cycling. It's safe for the people who are within the city.
Many Ugandans associate driving with status. Beanga wants to change the mindset that walking and cycling is only for the poor. He's spreading the message in schools.
Have an accident, they're called crashes. We have an accident and so many students got injured.
Some institutions like Makerere University have now introduced cleaner mobility to replace motorized transport on campus.
I must be me riding. Just wish how it would be, how it would look if these bikes were in the city. Imagine. Oh, Kampala will be beautiful. Kampala will not be choking. Kampala will not be having the dirtiest air.
On and off the road, Beanga is always campaigning for clean and safe mobility. As a professional broadcaster, he knows how to use the media effectively.
To leave other things. Each one of us has got something to do. Me, what I can do best is awareness. Yes. Raise awareness, point out the issues that need to be done, and let somebody do the intervention.
What an inspiring report. And from right here in Kampala, I feel like going for a walk now too. That brings us to an end of this week's episode of EcoAfrica. We hope you feel inspired as well. It is a goodbye from me, Sandra Kahomza Twinobio, signing off from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
See you soon, Sandra, and thank you to everyone for watching. Don't forget to check us out on our social media and do get in touch. It's goodbye from me too, Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria. See you next time.